This is an open letter to Games Workshop with the title A Plea to Rethink Political Action. Greetings from Austria. My name is so-and-so and I'm with the 40k hobby since edition 4. I bought my very first White Dwarf when I was in England for the very first time and I fell in love immediately. I still have this issue and it's fun to see how the craftsmanship advances over the decade. Since Warhammer wasn't really a thing in Austria around this time, so early to mid-90s, I took another 5 or 7 years until I called the very first models my own, but decades later I'm now the proud owner of several armies. So we had our ups and downs, some rulebooks made playing better and some worse. But overall, and in this time, when some friends of mine sold all their models in anger for this and that change or an increment of price or something like that, I kept my stuff and I did play. Every once in a while. We played not always the latest editions. Sometimes it's fun to go back to play edition 4 or 5 when we felt like it. It is always an option to ignore the newest stuff, and some of my friends would never play something else but edition 3, but still buying the newest models. At some point all of my Warhammer stuff made its way to the cellar, and at this point it became more of a memory than part of my life. Some years ago I stumbled over a YouTube channel that told 40k lore, and a lot of these old fond memories surfaced. After watching some of these videos I simply went down to my old stuff and re-embraced it. I went to your homepage and saw what I missed over the last years, and then I went to my favorite store, found out that it closed up, and went to my second favorite store to buy a new model, a homunculus. This opened the second chapter in my life with Warhammer, and to a lot of money to your company. I want to be very clear that I'm very confident that without these influences on YouTube, my stuff would still be in boxes and you would have made no money with me anymore. Warhammer was part of my past. The name of this influencer was Arch Warhammer, and I'm a dedicated fan of his work. With all due respect, I think that he has more feeling for the fluff than most Black Library writers, who lack mostly an approach in scale. It is important to understand that an artist is not his art and his art is not the artist. I admire his work and I care for him as a person outside of his work, not all too much. I do not care what his favorite drink is or who he loves, and I don't care what his political stance are most of the time. I care about his way of telling a story new that I read years ago, and I'm intrigued by his ability to make an hour content video out of 1 page of lore from a codex. And I have to point out that, at least with me, he made you money. And I can't see any scenario in which he could ever make you lose money. Without you taking some part of the story, it is. He is not part of your brand and nobody would ever think so. In this way, he is different from Thomas Perritt, whose ideas and what he is saying might reflect on your company, and I can understand your action to part way to a certain degree. He was an employee that misbehaved. Okay, I understand your actions, but Arch Warhammer is different. Arch is in the end of the day just a dedicated fan that makes some money from the dedication and in this process helps you to make money. You are in a synergy with influencers such as him, not in a competition. When I play Warhammer, I forget for some hours deadlines in the office or tragedies in the family and political issues that plague our society. All of these things are important, but you might agree that it is unhealthy to think about your project deadlines when you play with your child. Everything has its time, and when we play, we don't want to care about the co-worker that leaked information to a competitor, the new boss guy that has no clue what our product can do and cannot do, and they aren't with Alzheimer or troop movements in the Chinese sea or riots in the streets. You, as a company, provide escapism, and you do that well. Stick with that. But the moment you infuse your escapist product with too much reality, you damage your brand. This is like taking all the sugar out of a box of sugar because someone in the PR department argues that sugar is bad for the customer. He might be right, but you end up with losing customers who just wanted sugar. Understand your audience. Warhammer is complex and expensive. This defines your customers. We like complexity and don't care for the monoculturalistic approach to politics that defines mainstream politics on all sides, left, right, center. We understand that good and evil is a question of perspective, and most of us are old enough to know that perspectives might change over time, often drastically. Don't try to walk this line. Don't engage in politics. We don't expect you to. You can win almost nothing with that and lose so much. And with your loss, we lose future developments. This would be sad, but we still have the past. We can always fall back to play Edition 4. As an action, I decided to not invest in this edition until I see a clear statement that Warhammer is for everyone. Period. This will cost you some £100, next to some £100 of at least 4 people that I know that will do the same, but won't write an email for various reasons. It's a question of how much is to gain with this action and what is at risk. Sometimes it is better to stay passive. There is no need to enter the dangerous and unpredictable and ever-changing swarms of politics. Please take a step back and don't inject our escapism with those things we escape from in the very first place. And in this precious hour that we are able to not care about reality. Let Warhammer be what it was, a fantasy in which the most absurd things happen. Let it be a place where imagination runs wild and nothing is important except for some very old metal pieces and some beautiful crafted plastic on the table. Please don't take this from us, because if you do, we will have to find other ways to escape from reality, and there is an awful lot to choose this day. So Warhammer should be for everyone. Warhammer should bring different people together, as it always did. Let Warhammer be a bridge that spans over races, over beliefs, over ideologies, over class and heritage. Let it be the common ground where we can stand, where we all can be equals for some precious hours. Please ignore these hip young PR people with a Twitter addiction and stay out of politics, no matter what they say. Please rethink your actions against Arch and Thomas. Show us that there is still a place where we all can escape to, no matter what we are, what we say, and what we think. Don't break this bridge, or society will have one less way to bridge those gaps. Thank you.